Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deep South Homestead for our porch talk today. Still, I know a lot of y'all are enjoying some cool weather. Not so in the Deep South. We're still hovering around 90-something degrees with heat indexes way over 100. And I'm thankful that all of y'all up in the central and northeastern part of the United States has been able to enjoy some cooler temperatures. It is a blessing. They're saying, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but they're saying that fall will come early this year. And we'll wait and see, you know. I'm kind of hoping we get an earlier fall because it was been so hot, you know, down here where we're at. We could really use a break. And I know there's places over in Texas, New Mexico, and, you know, Arizona. Y'all could really use a break. And there's places up in the, where is it, the Pacific Northwest, hasn't even had any rain in months. And I know y'all would love to have some rain up there. Down here, we can't get 2 to 3 days without a rain. I mean, I'm needing to cut hay again, and I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's going to be possible. Looking at the extended forecast, they still have rain and thunderstorms just day after day after day after day after day after day. And, you know, I don't know. I just don't know. It's the first year I've seen in many, 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 many years where it's been this damp. And this is the crazy thing. All the ponds around us here now, including ours, and even as far away as Deep South is the water in the ponds is down to the static water level in the ground. Now that's something that is kind of concerning to me, because I drive around and I look at all the ponds, and everybody's pond is low, and it's raining anywhere between 1/4 to 1.5 inches, you know, 2 inches sometimes, every 2 to 3 days, and all the ponds are still way, way low. At Deep South, they're like 5 and 6 feet low. We had that big drought come through and the ponds went down. They've never come back up. Over here at Pecan Grove where we live at, when we first had our ponds built, it was pretty wet, and it was so wet the trackhoe had to work off of mats to build the pond, and it stayed running through the culvert for months and months and months and months, and then the drought came, and it's gone down, and it's never come back up to the culverts again. It's about 1 to 2 foot low, and has never come back up. And I went to some of the neighbors that don't live too far from us here, and theirs is even way lower than mine is. Theirs is like, I mean, it just seems like they're just extremely low. Their ponds are not dried up, but I wouldn't dare to say they're probably 3 to 4 foot deep. That'd be about it, you know. And it's kind of concerning. A neighbor down the road, their well went dry. They've had to have another well drilled. Thankfully, the dad was able to put a bigger tank on his well and run a water line on top of the ground down to their house and keep them with water till they was able to afford to have another well drilled. I don't know, guys. It's really concerning about what's going on. The intense heat that we've had this summer, and it's been intense. Now, I've seen summers that's been just as hot as what we've had this year, but I don't think I've seen as many summers that the intensity of the heat has been here. You know, the burning point. Now, it's always been 100 degrees down here, you know, and you could go out, you could work. I mean, you stay out in a little while, you get to come in. But now, it's like something has changed. We've checked with a lot of you guys, even people we know from you know, off of YouTube here, and people have left comments, sent us emails, because Some things we have planted 2 and 3 times in the ground and in raised beds and in containers, and they still ain't come up. One every so often will come up, but not all of them. Now, is it just the fact that the seeds did not pollinate? Is that the actual problem? Because there is a shortage of honeybees in lots of places in the country. I mean, we don't have a shortage here because there's over 100 hives just right up the road from us here. But I'm beginning to question the seeds. Are they truly pollinating so that when you plant them, I mean, where they'll reproduce? The simple fact that we're having to plant so many times on certain things is just concerning, especially beans. Now, it seems like beans has been the worst. Now, beans are more susceptible to herbicides than other, let's just say, other seeds are, like tomatoes. And like Wanda took out here in one of our containers, she just took a few tomato seeds and sprinkled on top of the ground, and the container, poof, they all came up. Same container we planted beans in, and the beans didn't come up. So it has to be the seeds and not the soil, because the tomatoes are doing fine. I mean, we got little young tomato plants. One's got them in cups now, spread out everywhere. So it's, I don't think it's the soil. I think it's actually the seeds that we're having problems with. Now, I think that as we go forward, that gardening will become harder and harder. I can't prove what I'm fixing to say, but in my heart, I really believe it, that there's something going on in the atmosphere, and it's done by man, that is preventing things from actually coming up and growing and producing like they should. Now, I have no scientific evidence to back that up. I'm just literally telling you what I've experienced, because my grapes have always done fantastic in the high tone. They've always bore the most beautiful seedless grapes you've ever seen, and lots of them. I moved them outside here at Pecan Grove. When I moved from Deep South to Pecan Grove, I built an arbor outside, and I put them outside away from all other muscadines and scuppernongs and all that kind of stuff. And they had grapes hanging all over them. They pollinated and had grapes hanging all over them. And I pruned them just like I've always pruned them in the high tunnels. And one day it came a big flood in rain, a big flood in rain. I call it a big flood in rain. We got a couple of inches of rain in a short period of time. Right after that rain, the leaves started getting big brown spots on them, and just kept getting bigger and bigger, and finally the leaves started dying, falling off. And my neighbors, people I know in the community here, they asked me, said, "Are you having trouble with your grapes?" And I'm like, "Well, what's going on?" They said, "Well, our leaves, after last week, we got a big rainstorm, and then now the leaves are all trying to fall off, and the fruit's just not doing good." And Wanda and I was able to eat some of the grapes off of our vines here, the seedless ones, and they were seedless. They didn't pollinate with anything else. But something happened in that storm that caused this to happen. Now, it used to be, we used to call it acid rain. Now, I don't know if that is actually what happened, or was they spraying something above the clouds and the clouds got it and brought it down to earth. I'm not, guys, I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of person, but I am at the point in my life to be able to say that I believe there is some sort of agenda going on, that they're trying to make it as difficult as they can for a person trying to grow a garden so it don't produce. And for people to just get frustrated and quit. Now, I like listening to different things about the Appalachian Mountains. That's where my people are from. They're from Kings Mountain up by North Carolina, South Carolina border up there. That's where we originated from. And so the Appalachian people are, and their traditions and ways are very important to me, you know. So I go back and I listen to a lot of the things about the Appalachian Mountains. Knowing now that the western side of the Appalachian Mountains has a fault line through it that nobody's talking about. You're going to see some earthquakes is going to be on that side. But I've listened to the stories of people who lived in the Appalachian Mountains and the things that they endured. And when the Great Smoky Mountains became a national park, and lots of people don't even know why it became a national park. I mean, all they know is what they read or see in a history book. The truth of the matter is, Uncle Sam has something really big in the Smoky Mountains. And that's why it's there. That's why they took the land, because there's something really big there. I'm not going to go into details about it, but there is a massive thing for Uncle Sam in the Smoky Mountains. And when I listened to what they did to people, like in Cades Cove and all around through all the people that they told them, you just got to leave. They took it through eminent domain. And the ones who they let stay, they gave them half the value of their property, and then they made the rules so strict living there that if they screwed up the least bit, they were evicted. And a lot of them did end up getting evicted. I mean, I listened to one of them talked about a tree fell on his property, a dead tree, so he cut it up, you know, to use and to get it out of the way. Well, in the rules, you couldn't cut a tree, you know, so they evicted the person because they cut a tree. And then just on and on. I mean, things that just happened that you couldn't have animals, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. You couldn't grow a garden. I mean, guys, that was wrong, okay? First of all, it was wrong that we took it from the Cherokees. Secondly, it's wrong that we took it from our own people. When Uncle Sam gets ready to do what he wants to do, he don't care about us. He just does what he wants to do, you know? And so the Great Smoky Mountains is not what you think it is, okay? What better way to hide something than in plain sight? You know, I mean, here a while back on one of my live streams, I talked about somebody asked a question about asteroids coming, these big giant asteroids, you know, and wanted my opinion on them. And I said, well, you know, some of these asteroids are not really asteroids. I said, sometimes when Uncle Sam gets ready to do something, he hides it in plain sight. Some of these things we've built ourselves that look like asteroids that literally are objects we put there and we operate them, we man them. I mean, there's lots of things that goes on about that. I mean, I can't go into, you know, any kind of details here because if I do, you know, I'm going to get into trouble. But let's just say that everything you see in the heavens is not the heavens, okay? And, you know, I'm going to go a lot of places on this porch time, and I want you to try to read between the lines, is what I guess is what I'm trying to say. The Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean is beginning to come alive. Now, it's always been alive, but it's really, really, guys, listen to what I'm telling you. It's really fixing to become alive. You're going to see more and more happening in the Ring of Fire. The 8-point whatever earthquake it was they had the other day, they keep changing it back and forth, in Russia, is just the tipping point for the Ring of Fire. what we're really watching, I'm going to try to be as honest as I can with you. What we're really watching in the Ring of Fire is down out from Central America is what's called the Coast plates. If those Coast plates, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I mean, I'm a Southerner, that's the way I'm going to pronounce it. If they shift in the wrong direction, then that will set off a chain of events that the whole western side of the United States seashore will be devastated. Let's just put it that way. I wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to live from Southern California to Northern Washington. I just wouldn't want to live anywhere in that region, to be honest with you. And it is kind of interesting to me that the United States has set off over here, and we've been well guarded because we have an ocean on our west coast, we have an ocean on our east coast, and it's been very difficult for anyone to really get to us to attack us because we are, we're pretty isolated. Well, now that we have, these intercontinental ballistic missiles and stuff like that, we're not as protected as we used to be. But I find it very interesting that the west coast of the whole United States is teetering on total destruction from earthquakes, and off the coast of Oregon is an underwater volcano there that's beginning to show that it's becoming active. Let's just put it that way. The eastern coast of the United States, you couldn't pay me to go to the east coast of the United States. Anywhere from southern Florida all the way to Maine, you could not pay me to go to those coastlines. Because at some point, that whole coastline is going to change. And it's going to do it so fast that if you're there, you may make it or you may not make it, And there was people that got on to me because Wanda likes the beach, but Wanda knows some of what I know, and she's been willing to forego going to the beach anymore because she knows what's going to happen, and she doesn't want to be there when it happens. If the western side of the United States and the eastern side of the United States crumbles, which it's very likely that it's going to happen, then we have lost our ability to guard ourselves because we'll be dealing with such devastation up and down the two seashores that has always been our barrier, if you want to call it that. And guys, this is what happens when you mock God. When you shake your fist in God's face and you do what you want to do, like the United States has done, then God will take your protective barriers away from you. And He will make you open to the world. And you will be vulnerable to the world. Now, yes, Trump has supposedly went and put I wouldn't call it an iron dome, but there's a dome over us. Now, this is kind of, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to. We have several major cities in the United States that, believe it or not, already had a dome over them. They were protected because we have specific things in those cities that are of national security, let's just say. So those cities, unbeknown to the people who live in them, already had a dome over them so that nothing could really penetrate or happen to them. But now, because of the southern border, the western border, the eastern border, and the northern border having problems, our elected officials has decided to try to put the ultimate dome over the whole United States. Now, will that work? It might work for conventional weapons. But when you try to deal with God, and you see, God doesn't need conventional weapons to do what he does. He has all through history, if you know anything about the Bible and you know anything about God, has always used the land, the weather, animals. I mean, there's stories throughout the Bible where one time God used hornets to drive a whole army away so that Israel could advance. He made the sun stand still where the battles could be fought. He separated the water so people could go across on dry ground. God has always done miraculous excuse me. God has always done miraculous things with nature in order to accomplish his will. I mean, he even made a donkey talk to a guy named Balaam one time to accomplish what he wanted to happen. He's used the stars in the heavens to show the birth of his son. I mean, to guide the wise men. I mean, all throughout history, God has used the earth to do things. Even in Revelation, if you read where it talks about when the nation of Israel flees into the wilderness, it talks about the earth will protect them. Now, if God's done this all along, then how can we stand back and say that if we have shook our fist in God's face and we put this iron dome over us and say nobody can get to us, how can we sit back and say, well, hey, maybe God might say, fine, you got a dome over you, I'm going to send some earthquakes. And I'm going to rumble and shake you because in, what is it? Is it in one of the books of the Bible, in the Old Testament, I want to say Hosea or Jeremiah or Isaiah, says that the earth will reel to and fro. That means it'll literally, to reel to and fro means it'll go backwards and forwards. It'll be like a drunkard, literally. So the earth is going to do that. We know it's going to do that. God's going to just shake the earth up. Can you imagine what will happen? If a simple earthquake can do the damage that it does, and then God says, the earth is going to reel to and fro, and he talks about the roaring of the waters and all that kind of stuff. I mean, have you ever been where a giant wave comes in? Have you ever heard that? I mean, it's mind-boggling that the sound and the power of water when it hits the shorelines. So stop and think about that. The Bible says every mountain, now not some mountains, every mountain will be moved out of its place. Now, what in the world is it going to take that's going to move every mountain out of its place? The Bible talks about an asteroid. I'm calling it an asteroid named Wormwood that's going to impact the earth. I mean, guys, there's some things going to happen. Now, is it going to destroy the earth? No, because the earth will still stand. We do know that the earth will be destroyed again, not by water, but by fire. And we know that there has been more than one flood because it's recorded in history all over the place of floods. Every civilization has an account of a flood. And they were there before the flood and they were there after the flood. So there's been more than one flood. There was more than one parting of the waters for people to go across on dry ground. That's in the Bible. Most people only talk about when Moses led the people of off. They forget about Joshua. I mean, God has used the earth to do his things all along, and he will continue to do that, because I don't see any reason he would change anything he's ever done. Man can build and do whatever he wants to do, but God can use his creation. There's even going to come a point, where is it at? Job, in the book of Job, it talks about how that the Lord has an angel that has the snow and the ice bound up and held until a specific day. And then we read on over in the scriptures in other places, it says there's actually going to be 100-pound blocks of ice that's going to fall from the sky. That angel's going to release it, and 100-pound blocks of ice is going to fall from the sky. I mean, all this kind of stuff is going to happen. Can you imagine a 100-pound block of ice just falling like rain? I mean, there's nothing going to withstand that. The only safe place would be deep underground. So, I mean, think about it. Lots of people think that the sun has always rose in the east and set in the west. And I can tell you, we have proof in history that says that is not true. The earth has actually stopped its rotation before and actually turned backwards for a period of time. And we're almost at a point where it's fixing to do that again. And when it does, and the earth is turned and it stops and starts turning, all the water keeps going for a certain period of time and floods everything. And then it comes backwards. I mean, it makes a slosh backwards. Guys, do you realize that the equator is 300 feet high? Even though it's in the ocean, it's 300 feet high, higher than it is around the shorelines of all the countries. Because the earth spins and the centrifugal force spins the water out, we're 300 feet higher. And do you know the earth is tilting off of its axis? And as it tilts, that 300-foot band moves. And as it moves, the water levels around certain shorelines change. They're actually saying that at one point they said Kentucky would be the new equator line across southern Mississippi and up through to Kentucky. Now they're saying it could go over, the earth could tilt as far as it could go towards Chicago. I've been told that we may become down here in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, we might become the new Arizona. I mean, stop and think about it. There is a giant ice shelf in the Antarctic that has already broken loose, that is beginning to drift away from the other ice, and if it drifts far enough, it's going to slide off into the ocean, and the water lines around the earth will raise 10 to 15 feet in less than 24 hours. Now, this is all proven. Our government knows this. This is why we moved many of our facilities from the Antarctica and already got everything out of there. There is massive things happening at both poles as I speak right now. So guys, so many things to talk about, and yet we can't do anything about any of them. And that's why I'm telling you, there's no need to freak out, to worry about anything. God is in control. Now, will they be people that dies? Yes. We're told in Revelation at one point, a third of the population of the earth will die. At another point, there will be another third of the people will die. We're told that a third of the ships in the ocean will be destroyed. We're told that there will be things that will eat up every green living thing on the face of the earth. I mean, we're told in Scripture all these things will happen. But we're not to trouble ourselves. Because if you know the Father, and He is your Heavenly Father, then you have nothing to fear. Because it's not to touch you. It's to touch those that are not His. And that's a comforting thought. Even in the midst of turmoil, everything that's around us is there for our benefits. So think on these things today, guys. I know it's been a little scattered, but I want you to think on them. And I really appreciate you watching. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.